Welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith With. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks as always for making your way here and checking out the series. You know what to do. Like what you see, what you hear, hit that subscribe button. I put out 3 new interviews every single week, so it's a great way to keep up with all of your favorite artists, and I can't tell you how excited I am today. Joel David Moore is with me. Hello, sir.
Hello. We did all of our fun Kentucky introductions before you. I didn't know that wasn't part of it. I do want to express my enthusiasm for Kentucky at large here, officially inside of the podcast, inside of the interview.
That's right. You were telling me, and we're going to get to, I mean, first off, you seem so busy right now. Of course, there's the world of Avatar that we're going to get into. You've got Balcony 9 that you've launched in the past few years and multiple How in the hell do you have time to be talking with me right now?
Well, I don't know, because I also have 2 kids under 5 years old. So that's my full-time job there.
Right.
Look, I think really early, I've been in Los Angeles in the entertainment industry, working as a working actor for 20 plus years at this point. Very early on, about 2005, a few years into any of my success, I realized that I just wanted to do more than just acting. And so I very quickly sort of jumped behind camera, wrote and co-directed my first movie, which was called Spiral, with Zachary Levi, myself, and Amber Tamblyn. It's a lovely shoot. We shot it in my hometown, Portland, Oregon. So it was then that I learned a lot about how hard it is to be behind the camera, on that side of the camera. But I also understood that, like, my passion and my enthusiasm was greater than just acting, just being an actor, which it has been a wonderful journey, and I appreciate that as a career at large. But I do think that, I find it a lot more fulfilling to be able to embark on what I'm doing now, which is producing and directing when I find something that I'm passionate about.
Yeah. Now obsession might not be the right word. Being driven with obsession, I think, is what I'm getting to, makes these things easier, when you're really about something. But do you find, like, that transition, like, not everybody can make that transition, is what I'm getting at, but you seem to have done it. What is it natural for you?
Well, Kyle, I'm a businessman, so I really understood. I liked the business aspect to it, and a lot of what I do. I launched this company with my dear friend and partner Rishi Bajaj. Rishi owns and operates Altai Capital. So he comes from the hedge fund world, from the finance world. I come from the entertainment world. We literally named our company off of the 9th floor balcony that I had in Chelsea, looking over the Hudson River. And we would just be talking about how to sort of, what's the intersection of these two worlds. And once he understood enough about the entertainment industry, and I understood at least what I needed to on the finance side, we thought that this was a really good marriage for running a company, and it has been a very successful endeavor. We've built this out. I have 6 or 7 employees here at our offices. We have a co-production deal with Cassian Elwes, who's sort of championed us, and I have learned an incredible amount in maybe a year of working with him. We took 2 projects to Kentucky, like I was saying, these some really fun independent films. We're taking a couple back this year to Kentucky. So, I think that what it is for me, it was a dedication to, I wake up every day wanting to make movies. I wake up every day wanting to tell stories. Is that story inside of filmmaking? Is that story with me helming a project? Likely it's going to be with me not helping. It's going to be with me just running my company and establishing a really good workflow between myself and everybody who works for me. And we go off and make a bunch of movies and television, and we work harder than everybody else, and that's how you're going to win.
That's been my motto the whole time. And I seriously mean that. I get where you're coming from, because you don't have to be the best. Sometimes you just have to work harder than everybody else.
I'm never going to be the best. One of the things that I realized, everybody's like, how do you find success as an actor? Finding success as an actor is understanding that 99 out of 100 times you're going to hear a no. And that's not a joke. Like, I'm very proud. I've done I have over 50 credits in film and television, which means that I have 1,000 no's. You know, like you do the math there, and it's crazy. There, you know, at the beginning of my career, I would audition 2 times a day sometimes, you know, over weeks between television and film, independent and studio, whatever was out there, just to try to get my name and my voice and my, you know, like heard from casting directors. And so all of that hard work and dedication pays off in the long run when you finally do hit your stride along the way. And then I just almost immediately just took that stride and built the rest of what I thought the rest of my career could look like, which was writing, producing, directing, everything outside of acting.
Yeah. And look at it now. I mean, that's what I was reading. You got what, 3 upcoming pictures that we know about. You recently directed was it Some Other Woman? Was that's the one,
Yeah,
right?
Some Other Woman was what a fun. I think it might be my favorite thing I ever directed, just simply because my cast, Amanda Crew, Tom Felton, Ashley Green, were just so wonderful. I knew Amanda before it. I knew Ashley and I are good friends. Hadn't known Tom. I think this is going to be Tom's best performance. I'm biased, but I just love the guy, and you know, he was so fun to work with. They're such raw talents in ways. You have what I love to work with on the acting side when I'm directing is someone who understands the practice of being on set and production, but also can just fall into the rawness of a character, you know. And that means you're going to hit hard times along the way. We were in the middle of pandemic. We had taken a 4-picture deal over to Cayman Islands, where everybody could quarantine and effectively not have to wear masks, not have to deal with PPE, because we got waivers from the unions over there. And so we had a very clean 4 pictures that we were shooting back to back to back to back. I was acting in some of them. I directed the last one. And Some Other Woman, you know, is just an absolutely beautiful film, from visual to narrative to everything that we came up with. You know, it's a very simple concept. It's about a girl who is a woman who is in a bit of a fever dream on island, and is trying to have a family with her husband, Tom Felton, and she feels a little stuck. She feels like she can't create the family for him that they both want. She wants to potentially move off island. He's in the middle of a real estate boom, so he's going to stay on island. So they've made sort of the decision to stay there. And after a series of unfortunate events for her, she finds herself in an emotional scenario on a beach, and she hears her own cries coming back, echoing back from the water, and she looks up, and there's this mysterious woman, and that woman starts to, day by day, clip away at taking over our lead lady's life. Until then, she's watching her life being taken over and experienced by another woman, you know, and she has to make the decision as to whether she wants that life back. And it's just really this, you know, the metaphors are very strong in this film. And it was written by a great trio. Originally, it was Josh Long had brought us the script, and then I brought on Angela and Yuri, this writer team that I really love, and we've used across the board on other things, to just kind of find the female voice and the POV in the right spot. So what we came up with was a weird movie, very Hitchcockian and strange, but I think something that people will really enjoy and understand.
Well, mentioning that POV, coming from that, I mean, that's also what I read is sort of one of the benchmarks of Balcony 9, because you all talk about, you know, going about the movies with inclusivity in mind, with the environment in mind. I'd love to hear more about that. Like, what does that mean in your practice, and why?
Well, so and I think that, you know, I have a couple of investors that I've partnered with at this company, between Rishi Bajaj and Vinny Smith, who both have a great capacity to be passionate about social impact and awareness and climate issues, but also have a passion for good storytelling across the board, and inclusivity across the board. So something that I've really been blessed with this company is not having to just go to market with the most commercial product out there, the thing that we know is we're sacrificing story and art for just commerciality. I'm every day waking up focused on finding that intersection between commerciality and impact. You know, diversity is impact. You know, everything that we can put forward that can challenge the norms that are that Hollywood has sort of existed in a lot for a long time. We kind of talk about ourselves like we're a super progressive industry, but we're not very progressive. We've not given, as an example, women the opportunity to have a sort of balanced path for directing film and television. You know, we are very excited that almost half of our slate is either female driven or would have a female top of the line component, either a writer or a director in it. And that's hard. That's not an easy task for us. Why isn't that easy? Because it wasn't established 30 years ago. This or 100 years ago, but really, like, I'm being conservative here, but you know, 30 years ago would have helped.
Sure.
You know, your programs that happened 30 years ago that were male dominated, that's what colors where we are right now. You know, I'm 45 years old. I started in this industry at 22, and there were no female directors at that time. I remember I remember having my first female director I was on a show called Bones for a really long time, and I won't call her out because she was absolutely wonderful, and I would work with her every day of the week. But I want to put her in a position. But she was like the only female director on the show, and that was who I wanted to shadow for directing television, because I'm like, you have a unique component here that feels completely different and not by rote and not just run of the mill. You're not just sort of putting in hours here. You're like, you kind of are having to fight for this position when you shouldn't even have to fight for it. You know, it should all be sort of a little bit more balanced. So without creating too many waves here, I do think that we need to get better across the board. We talk about inclusivity, and I don't know that we're following that as much as we talk about it.
Well, I certainly love hearing that you all are, you know, money where your mouth is, whatever the phrase at this point. That really is great to hear, and how you're doing that. I gotta take the unintentional line that you threw out there, because you brought up Bones, and now it's all come back around again, right? Because the infamous episode in Bones where your character goes to watch Avatar has come back around, and I'm sure it did on the first round too. But for a moment like that, I mean, surreal, I'm guessing, is the word. I mean, do you start to question a little bit of your own nature?
Yeah, right. Very meta. This was a John Landau, producer of Avatar, you know, the best producer in Hollywood. He called me with an idea, and I said, yeah, absolutely, let's do it. You know, he was sort of I don't know where the seed of the concept came from, but he was the one who said, we kind of want to talk. It's a Fox project and a Fox project. This was when the Avatar franchise was under the Fox banner, and you know, has recently been, of course, bought by Disney. But at the time, there were just two Fox projects, and he said, I want to do sort of a crossover concept, and he ran it by the Bones people, and we loved the idea. And you know, my time on Bones was my favorite time in front of camera on the television scene. It was just, we were a big family, and at that time the Avatar family was a big family, and still of course are, as we're making these sequels. So it was a real easy choice for all of us. But yes, very meta. And listen, if Bones was on right now, we'd do another crossover episode for Way of Water.
Do it again. So what has that been like? I mean, coming back, you know, after a decade, a little over, whatever that is, but you know, to come back and put the clothes, you know, whatever, the CGI clothes most of the time, I think. But what has that experience to revisit this character been like for you?
Well, you know, it doesn't feel like revisiting to us, because very early on we knew that there were sequels being discussed. I mean, this is a within the first year of the release of the original Avatar. So we were getting information about what the sequels were going to be. I mean, I think the first conversations we had that it was going to be a sequel that turned into two sequels very quickly, and then they essentially split those two sequels into two sequels. So you got four sequels that we are marching forward into into the entertainment universe. But our work began almost immediately, as far as not particularly the actors' work, but the work of progressing the story of and the universe of Avatar forward. Started with Jim and some writers, and of course John and their small team, figuring out what this is all going to look like. And as that iterated into a series of sequels, we were getting information along the way. But as an example, I just did an interview with people who they were asking about my son being the baby that they hold up in Avatar. He was 3 months old at the time. He's 5 now. So think about that.
Wow.
We were shooting this, and that wasn't even the start, right? So that we were rehearsing before he came in. He was early in the shooting process, but like we've been doing this for a while. That was 5 years ago. So really, we started 6+ years ago with rehearsals and talking about like coming in and meeting, seeing some storyboard and imagery and artwork, early artwork, understanding where the technology has gone. I'm a nerd, so Jim and I are have a kinship on the nerd side of things, on the sort of like the tech and the conceptual and the narrative side of the story. And so I was in early kind of looking at what the world was going to become, which everybody now sees. And this is why we've been so excited to share this, because it is just it's a visual masterpiece, and we sort of knew this and couldn't talk about it for a long time. I had seen about 45 minutes of rendered footage before we got to the sort of release and premiere and everything. And I just said, Jim, like you've done it again. We've worked out how to improve on what was masterful cinema, 14 years ago when the first release came out. So it's what a blessing to be a part of this world. This is just the beginning of all of the storylines, and of course my character has a fun little journey ahead, but the family oriented storylines that continue to will deliver with these next sequels. And there is so much more to come that is so exciting for the world of Pandora and Avatar at large.
I'll say, so I saw it 2-3 days ago. Me and my son went, and
great. How old's your boy?
He's 15.
Yeah. How do you like it?
He loved it. And there we are. And it's like, you think, there's going to be a sentimental moment that will hit you. Like Cameron's really good about that. And then it happens, and then it happens again, and then it happens again. And at the end of the movie, I didn't care what he thought. I just had to hug him. He's 15. Oh my God. He's 15. He's like, Dad, or whatever. But I was like, oh my God, I come out of that just a bit of a mess. I was like, come here.
Without any spoilers here, that I had young children. I was bawling. Mm-hmm. I was like, I had seen it in the full thing at the premiere in London. So it was our world premiere. And my wife wasn't with me, and I called her afterwards, and I'm just like, baby, I just need to talk to you. I want to hear from the kids. Like, this was an experience. Mm-hmm. I think that fathers around the world felt what you and I felt at that moment, and of course mothers and everybody. Just the ability to emote and feel something about characters that are not necessarily live action. This is as live action as you're going to get a CG character, Mm-hmm. But just the ability for Jim to replicate the emotions from the first, enhance those emotions, be able to, the richness in texture from frame to frame on this is just unmatched. Mm-hmm. You can't, and that richness in texture is what drives some of the emotions that you and I felt in there. If we don't necessarily get those if the dedication to frame by frame visual masterpiece, cinema didn't exist here. And if you think about like even the jump from the first one to this one, you look deep in the background of the first one and you look at the avatars, there's what I would call fall off, very little, Mm-hmm. if you look into the deep background in The Way of Water, there's no fall off, Kyle. It just doesn't. It's, you know, and think about where the next one is going to be in 2 years, and then 2 years
Right.
after that, and 2 years. You know, this is a growing art form. It is unique. He is unique in his position here because nobody's doing what he's doing in cinema. And, you know, look, the success of the movie shows that people want to get back to the theater in this way. I don't know that they want to see the Triangle of Sadness, you know, in theater. I love that movie. It's Force Majeure is one of my favorite films ever. I would go see Triangle of Sadness in the movie theater, but I think that theaters definitely can still continue to be alive for big cinema hits. And look, we have a top 10 to sort of talk about awards. I don't like talking about it, but like, look at the Oscars this year. 4 or 5 of those movies of the top of the Best Picture nominees are big hits. They're theatrical release. They're presented as theatrical releases. You know, even Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is one of my favorite movies of the year. Like it, you know, it's kind of an independent look at a theatrical release, but it was a successful release. And you have Top Gun, $1 billion film, Way of Water. You have all these big movies that are getting these nods. I think that's good. I think that's good for the Oscars. It makes people pay attention to what's going on. They know the titles that they're following if they're watching an awards ceremony. So all of this is really good, and it shows that we're going back to the theater, that people want to go back to the theater in a big way.
Yeah. Well, it is an outstanding, masterpiece of a movie. The way, everything that you said, the look, the story. I can't wait to see the next sequels, and especially to get more of your character. I mean, I know we didn't get a lot of this second one, so they've thrown some fun questions in there, kind of teasing, especially in The Way of Water. So I'm
absolutely, and you know, the journey. Look, this journey is about the Sully family, and it's going to be about the Sully family. You're going to have a lot of introductions to all different aspects of what could happen on Pandora and beyond. But I think that, you know, Norm is alive and well in Avatar: The Way of Water, and there's a fun journey ahead, and I can't wait for people to come back to the theaters and watch more of the Avatar sequels. Right. You like that? That's about all I can say there.
I didn't expect to get much more. I do love that. Joel David Moore, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about it. Seriously, congratulations on all the success and all the movies coming up as well with the Balcony 9.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate it. Appreciate your time.
And thanks to my guest. Also, thanks to you for checking out the episode in the series. Before you get out of here, hit that subscribe button. Again, you get 3 brand new interviews every single week. New one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at right here on YouTube, or of course anywhere in podcast land, including iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, NPR, or WFPK.org as well. A great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover new ones as well. Then after that, actually head over to WFPK.org. That's where I do a show Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. It's an hour full of song premieres, music news, anniversary spins, bonus interviews, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern at WFPK.org. Consequence has your music and film news. You can also find me on the social media spots, Facebook, Instagram, mostly on Twitter. All 3 of them, the address is at Kyle Meredith. Do hope you like and follow along. That does it for another edition. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.